When it matters to you, it matters to us. The Jared Goodell Show, 99.9 FM and 1370 WFEA.
8:16, good morning to you. Jared Goodell alongside, waking you up, getting you informed on all the big issues of the day. 844-94-JARED, the number to call, 844-945-2733. Podcast of the show up online at 1370WFEA.com. I'll put that up around noontime. Video clips from inside the studio up there as well. 1370WFEA.com. I saw this story last night and immediately caught my attention. A father down on Long Island, fighting to get his son into school. His son, 12-year-old Christian Killoran, 12-year-old with Down syndrome, and he is supposed to be going into the 7th grade, supposed to be starting school today, but the school says, no, I'm sorry, we're not going to take Aiden. We don't have the ability to take care of him. Tragic story. Hoping that there's something good that comes out of this this morning. Father of Aiden joining us this morning, Christian Killoran. Good morning to you, Christian.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
Christian, you just actually were outside the school there holding a little rally, trying to get the school and the administration of the school to wake up. A lot of people coming out to support you, I hear.
Absolutely. We're really thankful for all the support, and hopefully it makes a difference.
So take us through this story here. Your son, Aiden, 12 years old, has Down syndrome, supposed to be starting the 7th grade today, but the school not letting him in. Take us through the process of why they're not letting him in.
Well, essentially, their argument is that they don't have the resources to accommodate his education. This is despite the fact that every surrounding district does commit to educating their own, and it's also despite the law that states they have an obligation to do so.
All right, tell us what would Aiden require? I mean, he was out of school before. Does he require an aid? What extra would the school have to provide to him?
Well, what's even more disturbing about this is that Aiden's IEP, which is his individualized educational plan, which is put together by what's known as a CSE, which is a Committee on Special Education, they put together an educational platform that called for what's known as a 15-1-1. That's basically 15 students, one teacher aide, and then a one-on-one assistant. That dynamic is actually already being hosted within the district. And the district simply won't allow Aiden to be part and parcel of that, despite the fact that that is what is indicated on his IEP, which was put together by those attuned to Aiden's circumstances. Westhampton Beach School District has never in its entire history ever educated an alternately assessed special needs child for post-elementary education, ever in its history.
So what are they saying to you, the Westhampton Beach School District down on Long Island? What did they say to you? How did they tell you that they weren't going to allow your son to go into 7th grade at the school?
Well, a lot of it was them not saying anything and not having a dialogue. You know, we reached out to the district over 2 years ago because we were cognizant of their culture and their legacy, and we had vowed not to be victimized by that. So we proactively reached out to them over 2 years ago in an attempt to engender a dialogue, to inform them who we were, who Aiden was, and to talk about, the transition process. They gave us an answer at that time that Aiden had yet to vest into their jurisdiction, and therefore the discussion was premature. Now they perversely use that argument as if they're under the gun at this point. So it's really, it's mind-boggling.
So you pay taxes. This is a public school. You pay taxes for your son to go to this school, and they're saying, we're not going to take you. Are they offering to send him to another nearby school, to give you a voucher to put him in another school?
Yes, we pay taxes, and our school district where we live, Remsenburg, has a contract with Westhampton Beach, and anybody could look at that contract, and it calls for the education of all of Remsenburg's graduates. Every other graduate is walking through those doors today, except for Aiden, but for his, but for the fact that he has been diagnosed with Down syndrome. So they're in breach of contract in addition to being in breach of his federal and state constitutional rights. The alternative is, and I'm very thankful, is that Remsenburg, the school that he went to last year, has agreed to educate him pending the outcomes of our federal court case. And I'm thankful for that. Although it's not the best circumstances for him, it's certainly one that keeps him at home. And so we're very grateful for their leadership.
So to make this make sense for the listeners, you live in a town that's small, that has an elementary school, but that doesn't have its own middle school. So your town contracts with another larger town that has a middle school to send their students there. Is that right?
That's correct. Westhampton Beach is the receiving district, and essentially they bring in their own elementary students, as well as those students that are in Remsenburg, Quogue, and East Quogue. So those are known as feeder districts, essentially one school districts that are K through 6.
Right.
And then they funnel into Westhampton for their post-elementary education.
So Aiden's supposed to be going into the 7th grade. All of his friends have moved on to the middle school today, school starting today, but Aiden not able to go to school with his friends. How is your son taking this?
Well, up until today, we've shielded him about this possibility because we were always hopeful that the district would reach out, and not have this injustice occur. But they haven't, and they're still silent, and my phone is on, and I haven't received a call. So, we've tried to shield it to him up into today. So today will really be the first day that we'll have to start, addressing those issues and mitigating the damage. Because he's going to be realizing that he's not with his friends and his community members. And, there's a threat that he wouldn't be with his family even, because my son and daughter will be following and graduating into Westhampton in a few years.
All right. Christian Killoran on the phone with us this morning, fighting to get his son into the local public middle school. Aiden, the 12-year-old son, has Down syndrome. The school saying, sorry, we don't have the resources to take care of your son. You'll have to figure something else out. What is your plan now? Reports say that you're planning on filing a federal suit against the school because essentially they're not doing what they're supposed to be doing. They're a public school. You're paying taxes. They're supposed to educate all students, regardless of disabilities. Your son has Down syndrome, but that doesn't mean that he doesn't deserve an education just like every other kid.
Well, that's exactly right. And we actually have filed the federal suit. So it is actually pending now. And we're awaiting word of the court, on the merits of that action. So we actually have done it. And we're hoping we get a decision soon enough so that the damage can be mitigated to the best extent possible.
What is the community saying? You held that rally this morning. Are people behind you, or do people just want you to go away? What is the community saying about this?
Well, this rally has been well publicized. I didn't see one opposition protester there today. We've received just a wealth of support, not only from people who showed up today on a Wednesday morning at 7 o'clock, but from people through emails, through tweets, just through various outreaches. It's really been incredible. There's a lot of people who are afraid to show up that have told us because they're afraid about discrimination to be inflicted upon their children, as retribution, basically, for supporting our efforts. So we're happy to have this fight. Ultimately, good will prevail, and I'm really confident about that.
Real quick here, last question for you. Christian Killoran on the line with this down on Long Island, fighting to get his son into the public school. His son, 12 years old, has Down syndrome. The school says, sorry, we're not going to take care of you. What do you think the outcome of this is going to be? Is there any other case like this across the country? What do you think is going to happen here? Is your son finally going to be able to go back to school with his friends?
Ultimately, like I said, we will prevail because now the issue is becoming illuminated, and what's right will always ultimately prevail if there's dedication to illuminating the issue. So I'm very confident that will happen. I'm hoping it happens sooner than later. I'm hoping it obviously happens for the benefit of Aiden, but ultimately the pressure is not going to stop. And this issue is bigger than Aiden. It's for everybody that lies behind Aiden. So at the end of the day, we will prevail. I'm hoping that, of course, it happens sooner than later.
Yeah, I agree with you there, Christian. Pulling for you, hoping that you can get Aiden back with his friends and back in school. Christian Killoran, I know you got a busy day ahead of you. Keep fighting the good fight. You're a good dad. Thanks so much for joining us this morning.
Thanks, buddy. Thanks for having me.
Have a good one. Christian Killoran there, again, fighting to have his 12-year-old son who has Down syndrome, have his son allowed to go on to middle school. Local school, public school saying, sorry, we don't have the ability. We don't have the resources to educate your son. Again, 12 years old, Down syndrome. All his friends going to middle school today. Unfortunately, Aiden can't. is being denied the public education that his parents have been paying taxes for, that his family has been paying taxes for their entire life down at the Westhampton Beach School District. Hoping that story ends very well.
This is the Jared Goodell Show.
Still lots more to get to this morning. 8:26 now on WFEA. We'll talk about another school, this one in Missouri, making national headlines. A student there is transgender. Senior high school student, transgender, wants to be able to use the girls' locker room. The school saying, sorry, girls uncomfortable with that. This student saying that he's being, or she now is being discriminated against. Talk about that coming up in just a few minutes. 844-94-JARED, 844-945-2733, the number to join the conversation this morning. Podcast always up online, 1370WFEA.com. If you missed any part of the show, you're heading into work now, want to hear more about this story, it'll be podcasted up online, 1370WFEA.com. 8:27 now. Good morning.